Number 1. I don't know if many of you remember this, but back in 2016 there was a creepy clown trend where people would dress up as creepy/killer clowns and would hang out in places after dark and stalk people. My story takes place on my college campus during the fall of that year. I lived with my grandparents before leaving for school, and I am extremely close to them. Also, I am very shy and had zero friends or people I regularly hung out with at school. I wanted to reach out and meet new folks. So, I signed up for salsa dancing club that met every Friday night. I told my grandma over the phone, and she was really happy. I was putting myself out there. She asked if I was going with anybody. This is how the conversation went. No, I told her. I'm just gonna go by myself. Are you sure? She asked. Don't any of your roommates want to go? The idea of talking to my roommates kinda terrified me. I could handle structural gatherings, but personal conversations left more room for my awkwardness to creep in. No, they're not here. I don't want you walking around campus by yourself, especially at night. I thought my grandma was being a little overprotective. Grandma, it's fine. The streets are well lit, and it's only 10 minutes. It's perfectly safe. Well, if you're not going with anybody, call me and let me talk to you on the phone while you walk back. I agreed. That evening was incredibly fun. Learning the basic steps and dancing to upbeat Latin tunes. At around 10:30, I felt ready to head back to my dorm, so I snuck out of the building and headed towards my dorm. Although the paved path I was walking on was well lit by the streetlights, it seemed darker than usual. In addition, the entire campus was deserted. Normally, there were quite a few kids my age wandering around at this time of night, but there was not one single soul this time. I dialed my grandma and made small talk with her as I walked. I took my heels off and carried them in my free hand. Now, the path that I was walking on went past the stretch of sidewalk that was perpendicular to the one I was walking down. Under one of the streetlights, about 10 meters away, I noticed a long figure standing with his back towards me. The figure, hearing me chat on the phone, slowly turned towards me. He was tall and heavyset, with wild red hair, and appeared to be wearing light blue pajamas. His face was obscure. It was like one of those killer clown masks you'd see posted on the news right now. The mask was stark, white, with dark black eye sockets, and a twisted grin. Time seemingly went slower. It went slow and way down. The clown did not move toward me. He simply stood there, staring. I know I had to think fast. I contemplated my options. I could A, scream like a little girl and run. B, approach him and confront him. Or C, pretend he didn't scare me. The entire moment I just couldn't describe, couldn't have lasted more than a second. But in that moment it felt like an eternity. Are you there? I heard my grandma say. Remembering to breathe with the phone still at my ear, I decided to go with plan C. I broke eye contact with the clown. So, anyway, I said loudly that the clown would hear me. Yeah, I'm on my way, I continued. What's going on? Is everything okay? I heard my grandma ask. Her voice suddenly filled with anxiety. As confidently and nonchalantly as I could, I walked past the sidewalk where the clown was standing, continuing to chat. His head slowly turned as I walked past, watching me until I was out of sight. I ducked into an archway of the nearest building and tried the door, praying that it was unlocked. It was. Once I was inside, I slumped against one of the concrete walls and broke down in tears. I explained to my grandma what just happened. My grandma yelled for my grandpa to dial the campus police on his cell phone so that I could stay on the line with her. I got up, started pacing up and down the empty halls, checking every door, every window to see if the psycho had followed me. Was he a stupid kid doing this on a dare or something? Or was it someone with more evil intentions? Some of the creepy clowns in the news had axes or baseball bats. I had no idea if mine was armed. When my grandpa tried to explain to the officer on the phone what happened, and that I needed help, he told my grandpa, "Look, your granddaughter needs to make the call herself." Apparently the reason I had to talk to them was so that they could be sure the call wasn't just a prank or something, for a stupid reason like that. The point is, they wouldn't take my grandfather's word that I was distressed. I would have to hang up with my grandma and dial the campus police myself, not knowing if I would survive this night. I told my grandma between sobs, "I love you. I love you too," my grandma also saying while she was crying. I dialed the campus police and told them who I was and what had happened. The officer on the phone sent several other officers to find me while I stayed on the phone with him and gave him a description of this clown. As I was talking, I heard the door open. I froze. Was the clown in here? Did he hear me? Did he find a way in? A tidal wave of relief washed over me as several officers came striding down the corridor. They walked with me back to my dorm. As soon as I got inside, I locked the door and the windows and shut the blinds. I called my grandma back to tell her I was safe. After talking for a little bit longer, we said goodnight. Since then, I have made a few friends at school. While I'm in a better place now, I don't go out alone after dark anymore. And as for that creepy clown, let's not meet again. Number 2. The names in the story have been removed to protect the person's identity. They wanted to remain anonymous. So-and-so's friend, a girl in her teens, is babysitting for a family in Newport Beach. The family is wealthy and has a very large house. You know the sort. With a ridiculous amount of rooms. Anyways, the parents are going out for a late dinner/movie. The father tells the babysitter that once the children are in bed, she should go into a specific room. He doesn't really want her wandering around in the house and watch TV in there. The parents take off, and soon she goes and gets the kids into bed and goes to the room to watch TV. She tries turning on the TV, but she was disturbed by this clown statue in the corner of the room. She tries to ignore it for as long as possible, but it starts freaking her out so much that she can't handle it. She resorts to calling the father and asks, "Hey, the kids are in bed, but is it okay if I switch rooms?" The clown statue is really starting to creep me out. The father says, "Get the kids, go next door, and call 911. She asks, "What's going on?" He responds, "Just go next door, and once you call the police, call me back." She gets the kids, goes next door, and calls the police. When the police are on the way, she calls the father back and asks, "So really, what's going on? I don't understand." He responds, "We don't have a clown statue." He then further explains that the children have been complaining about this clown watching them as they sleep. He and his wife had blown it off, assuming that it was just them having a nightmare. The police arrive and apprehend this clown, who turns out to be a midget clown. I guess he was a homeless person dressed up as a clown. who somehow got into this house. And he had been living there for several weeks. He would come into the kids' rooms at night and would then watch them while they sleep. As the house was so large, he was able to avoid any type of detections, surviving off their food, etc. He had been in the TV room right before the babysitter came in there. When she entered, he didn't have enough time to hide, so he just froze there in place and pretended to be a statue. I guess you could say they all had nightmares after this. Number 3. On September 8th, we reported clown sightings near Greenville County, South Carolina. There were multiple sightings of clowns. One resident saw one standing by a dumpster at 2:30 a.m. Other children came forward claiming clowns attempted to lure them into the woods with money and that the clowns lived in the house by the pond deep in the woods. Since these reports, officials were unable to find any evidence of suspicious people. However, sightings of the clowns started to spread over to 10 cities across the U.S. Last week, a video posted on Facebook went viral of a clown sighting in Florida. Caden was driving in his car when he paused to film a person with white, sinister face paint on, standing in a bush along a dirt road, looking at the car. In North Carolina, a machete-wielding clown tried to lure a woman into a wooded area, and police presence was increased after 2 children claimed that they were offered candy by a clown if they followed it into the woods. Police have begun arresting people dressed as clowns on various charges. In Kentucky, a 20-year-old man was arrested for wearing a clown costume and hiding in a ditch. With the number of civilians carrying guns, officials were worried that the public will attempt to deal with these situations themselves. Are these creepy clowns taking over America? Whether these clowns are real threats or just people pranking, we won't know. Be careful out there. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try to stay a little bit more consistent than I have been lately, since now I'm actually feeling a lot better than I was. So, make sure to subscribe and turn those post notifications on. I'm going to start making everything longer and more consistent from now on, hopefully. So, with that being said, make sure to check out the links in the descriptions. My Twitter, Instagram, everything is down there. So if you'll give me a quick follow so you can find out when the next video is coming out. There's also a little bit of bonus content on there as well. So, with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. And also, watch out for those clowns.